Whew. Easy 12 miles today in the Dominican Republic. I got an important question to ask today. Have you ever seen one of the I would say best shows of all time? And I think my kids would agree with me enthusiastically. It's called Is It Cake? If you haven't seen it, if you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. Pure entertainment gold. But for those that haven't seen this intellectually stimulating piece of brilliant writing, they start off the show with the question, is it cake? And then the whole premise is that these cake designers make random objects like this bush. Yeah. Freaking aromas, like the worst tree of all time. Into cakes. And then they have a panel of esteemed judges, random people, that can then vote to say, out of the whole display of these items, which one is cake. The whole show, every episode, doesn't change. Is it cake? It's hard to tell, for me at least, which one's cake. I guess it's a skill, it's a gift, really. And Chelsea and I were talking about how, like, AI has made so many leaps and bounds, where it's like there's whole stories and videos and stuff where it's like, I don't know if that's cake or not. I don't know if that's real. And how we're so thankful because there's a skill set that children are learning now, which is to distinguish between what is fake and what is real, even when it looks so real, sounds real. And so our kids, they maybe one day, the skill, I think that's a skill set we as my generation and older don't really have. And unless you have like me, like you have a high level of cynicism against pretty much everything in authority because just life has been difficult. Those people, they got that skill a little bit. It's not the degree that kids have now, but and you know who you are during the pandemic when they're like, put a piece of fabric over your face to stop an airborne virus. You're like, fuck that. That's stupid. Yeah, this is clearly fake. So then if we could break it down and discuss what the neuroanatomy is, I think that shines a lot of light, because I think, like, it's real easy to just call people stupid. For me, it's my preferred method of coping with people that have different perspectives than me that are incorrect. For example, mask. It's easy to be like, that's stupid, but they're not really stupid. They just have stronger brain areas than I do. And so, to break down the neurology into it, very simply, there's two distinct autonomic nervous system modes that our system has. And this has become very, very complicated, and I've complicated myself with different lectures I put on and continuing education. But I think I've gotten it down to about as simple as it can. So forget the whole fight or flight mode, forget all the stress response. If you think about the neuroanatomy involved and the automatic modes, you have two automatic modes. You have what's called the stay mode, and what's been commonly
Lab 7, 1001.
What's been commonly discussed as like the freeze response has. I don't believe that Dr. Purchase is 100% correct on this, because he discusses that it's like, okay, you're in fight or flight mode until you become exhausted, and then you freeze. But after studying the neuroanatomy over the last 3 years, No, it's a dorsal vagal nervous system response. It's a whole branch of the vagus nerve that causes us to freeze. And so what this evolutionarily did for our species was allowed us to look to our leaders and without acting reactively. So in the face of danger or perceived danger, our dorsal vagal response would say, stay, right? And then the strong leaders, which historically would be the strong people. It wouldn't be, I don't know, it's kind of like we've adopted like almost like a high school mentality in the world now, where it's like, vote on the popular kid and they get to make all the decisions for everybody. It's like, well, that'd become a good idea. I mean, literally, that's what elections are. Like the popular kid's simply the person with more money that can show how they're so cool, right? It's like, so the neuroanatomy over our course of our species would keep us actually safe, right? And there's one study that Chelsea was telling me about that looked at the idea of the alpha male or the alpha leader, and they looked at several groups of animals now, and really what this alpha leader would be, it'd be the strongest person or strongest animal in the group, but they would wait to get the consensus of the herd, and then they would lead, right? So they take the lead spot, which would be the most dangerous because they're the strongest. But as of right now, how many of our leaders are taking the first spot? You guys can go ahead. So the dorsal vagal nerve, commonly referred to as the freeze mode, and then the amygdala work together for the stay mode. This is a feeling mode. It's highly perceptive. So anxiety, depression, any of these mental illness modes is stay mode. We are trained, that nervous system tells us to stay like a dog. Batman Begins quote. And then on the other side of the scale, we have what's called the play mode. And play mode has 3 neuroanatomy centers. Prefrontal cortex, healing, processing through emotions, part of our brain. It's also sequential thinking, executive planning. It's part of the brain that says, I know if I do A, B, C, D, E, F, well, G will happen, right? And this became, again, going back to the cynical jerks that have the advanced, this part of the brain. Remember back in the beginning of the pandemic, they're like, if we close down for 2 weeks, it's going to turn into this, and it's going to turn into this, and then it's going to be vaccine mandates, and then they're going to do vaccine passports, and everyone's like, oh, you conspiracy theorist. It's just going to be 2 weeks. We're just going to stay in our house for 2 weeks. You're unable to see past it because that neuroanatomy center of the amygdala and dorsal vagal response very strong. Okay, so play mode, prefrontal cortex. You don't have to wait to be told because you're just playing. There's no danger. And it's the ventral vagal nerve root, which is again whole neurological structure that controls gut function, circulation, heart rate, ease, a feeling of ease for sensory function. And then the third neuroanatomy structure is the substantia nigra, which is the part of the brain that produces dopamine. So it's directly related to goals, feelings of accomplishment, happiness, joy, not wanting to kill oneself. Versus a substantia nigra that is not producing dopamine. It relies on artificial dopamine in order to then not want to kill oneself. And that's where basically medicine's like, cha-ching, got these suckers as customers for life. You slap a label on them, tell them they need a medication, their neuroanatomy that's related to staying the same, it takes over. Boom, baby, boom, baby, boom, baby, give me your money. So over the next month, I'm putting out little clippies on stay mode versus play mode. Because if your stay mode is very strong, you are going to stay the same. And you are going to make every freaking argument towards me about how that is the safe, smart thing to do. And if you have a little whisper now, you're like, actually, I'm kind of all done staying the same. I'm kind of at the point where I'm developing a little bit of cynicism towards these main institutions that have really trained your anatomy. I mean, that's the thing. It's like you just had your anatomy trained to be this way. If you're overweight, if you're out of shape, if you're exhausted, if you have anxiety, if you're guarded all the time, you've got your stay mode trained to be strong. You're not weak. You're not dumb. Although I would call you that because it makes me feel better about myself. You just have an overactivated stay mode. But here's the thing that happens when the stay mode becomes over-strengthened, the play mode becomes atrophied. So, and